The US dollar is more than just a currency, it's a symbol of American power. It represents the economic might and political influence that the United States has wielded for decades. The greenback is not just paper, it's a tool of diplomacy and a weapon in economic warfare. For decades it has been the world's reserve currency, used for the majority of global trade and financial transactions. This status has allowed the US to enjoy lower borrowing costs and a higher standard of living. Countries around the world hold vast reserves of dollars, ensuring its liquidity and stability. This dominance has given the US unmatched economic and geopolitical leverage. The ability to print the world's primary reserve currency means the US can finance its military and economic endeavors with relative ease. It also means that American policies and decisions have a ripple effect across the globe. The ability to impose sanctions, finance its massive deficit, and influence global markets has been a cornerstone of American foreign policy. Sanctions can cripple economies, and the US has used this tool to exert pressure on nations that defy its interests. The dollar's dominance allows the US to run large trade deficits without immediate economic repercussions. However, the global landscape is changing. Emerging economies are growing, and with them, their influence on the global stage. Countries like China and Russia are advocating for a multipolar world where no single currency holds sway over international trade. The US dollar's dominance is being challenged as countries increasingly look for alternatives. Initiatives like the BRICS nations' push for a new reserve currency and the European Union's efforts to strengthen the euro are gaining traction. Cryptocurrencies and digital currencies are also emerging as potential disruptors. This shift, known as de-dollarization, threatens to reshape the global order and diminish American influence. If successful, it could lead to a more fragmented and competitive international monetary system. The implications for global trade, finance, and geopolitics are profound. Understanding the reasons behind this shift and its potential consequences is crucial for navigating the future. As the world moves towards a more diversified monetary landscape, the strategies that nations adopt will determine their economic and political fortunes. The era of the dollar's unchallenged supremacy may be coming to an end, and the world must prepare for what comes next. The story of the dollar's rise begins in the aftermath of World War II. The world was in ruins, and nations were desperate to rebuild their economies and infrastructure. The devastation left by the war created a pressing need for a stable and reliable global financial system. The 1944 Bretton Woods Agreement established a new global monetary system. Representatives from 44 allied nations gathered in Bretton Woods, New Hampshire, to design a framework that would prevent future economic turmoil and foster international cooperation. The US dollar, backed by the world's largest gold reserves, became the anchor for other currencies. This meant that other countries' currencies were pegged to the dollar, which in turn was convertible to gold at a fixed rate. The stability of the dollar was crucial for the system's success. This system facilitated international trade and investment, ushering in an era of unprecedented global economic growth. Countries could trade with each other with greater confidence, knowing that exchange rates were stable and predictable. As the US economy boomed, so too did the dollar's importance. The post-war economic expansion in the United States led to increased industrial production, technological advancements, and a higher standard of living, further solidifying the dollar's dominance. It became the currency of choice for central banks to hold as reserves. Central banks around the world accumulated dollars to stabilize their own currencies and to facilitate international trade. International trade, particularly in commodities like oil, was conducted primarily in dollars. The dollar's role in global trade meant that countries needed to hold large reserves of it to pay for essential imports. This dominance gave the US significant influence over the global financial system. The ability to control the world's primary reserve currency allowed the United States to exert considerable economic and political power on the international stage. The ability to print the world's reserve currency provided the US with unparalleled economic and political power. This unique position enabled the US to finance its deficits and exert influence over global economic policies, shaping the world economy in ways that benefited American interests. While the dollar has reigned supreme for decades, cracks have begun to appear in its foundation. The emergence of de-dollarization, a move away from using the dollar in international transactions, is a growing concern for the US. Several factors are driving this trend, posing a challenge to America's financial dominance. One factor is the growing dissatisfaction with the US-centric financial system. Many countries, particularly emerging economies, feel vulnerable to American economic policies and sanctions. The use of the dollar as a political tool has fueled resentment and a desire for greater financial autonomy. This sentiment has led to the exploration of alternative currencies and financial systems. The shift away from the dollar is particularly evident in the energy markets. Oil, a crucial commodity, has long been priced and traded in dollars. This petrodollar system has been a major pillar of U.S. economic power. However, recent developments signal a change. China, the world's largest energy consumer, has been actively promoting the use of its currency, the yuan, in oil transactions. Agreements with oil-producing countries like Russia and Saudi Arabia to use yuan for payments are chipping away at the petrodollar's dominance. This trend, if it continues, could have significant implications for the U.S. economy and its global standing. The rise of alternative financial systems. Adding to the dollar's woes is the emergence of alternative financial systems. These systems, often facilitated by technology, bypass traditional banking networks and the SWIFT payment system, which is heavily influenced by the U.S. China's Cross-Border Interbank Payment System, or CIPS, is an example of such a system. It offers an alternative to SWIFT for international transactions in yuan. Similarly, Russia has developed its own system, SPFS, to circumvent potential U.S. sanctions. The growth of these systems, coupled with the increasing use of digital currencies, presents a challenge to the dollar's dominance in cross-border payments. Political instability and the erosion of trust. Beyond economic factors, political instability in the United States is also contributing to de-dollarization. The political landscape has become increasingly volatile, with frequent protests and rallies reflecting deep societal divisions. This instability is not just a domestic issue, but has far-reaching implications on the global stage. The dollar has long been seen as a safe haven currency, a reflection of American stability and reliability. For decades, investors around the world have trusted the dollar, viewing it as a secure store of value, especially during times of global uncertainty. This trust has been a cornerstone of the dollar's dominance in international finance. However, recent years have seen growing political polarization, fiscal irresponsibility, and questions about America's long-term commitment to global leadership. The increasing divide between political parties has led to legislative gridlock, making it difficult to address critical issues effectively. Fiscal policies have also come under scrutiny, with rising national debt and budget deficits raising concerns about the country's financial health. These developments have eroded trust in the dollar as a stable and reliable currency. The perception of the dollar as a safe asset is being challenged, as both domestic and international observers question the sustainability of current economic policies. The symbolic crumbling of the dollar reflects a deeper unease about the future. Foreign investors and central banks are increasingly wary of holding large dollar reserves, fearing potential economic or political turmoil in the United States. Countries are diversifying their reserves, seeking alternatives to mitigate risks associated with dollar dependency. This shift is evident in the growing interest in other currencies and assets. This loss of confidence could further accelerate the move away from the dollar. As trust continues to wane, the global financial system may see a significant realignment, with new currencies and financial instruments emerging to fill the void. The implications of this shift could be profound, affecting everything from international trade to geopolitical alliances. A multipolar world, the rise of China and others. The decline of the dollar is also linked to the emergence of a multipolar world. The rise of China in particular is reshaping the global balance of power. China's economic might, its growing influence in international institutions, and its efforts to internationalize the yuan are directly challenging U.S. hegemony. Other countries too are seeking a greater role on the world stage. Russia, India, and Brazil, among others, are asserting their interests and looking to diversify their economic and political ties. This multipolar world order is inherently less reliant on the United States and the dollar, further contributing to de-dollarization. Economic and geopolitical consequences for the United States. The decline of the dollar, if it continues, could have profound consequences for the United States. Economically, it could lead to higher interest rates, inflation, and a weaker dollar, making it more expensive for the U.S. to finance its large current account deficit. Geopolitically, a weaker dollar could diminish U.S. influence and leverage in international affairs. The effectiveness of U.S. sanctions, a key foreign policy tool, would be undermined. America's ability to shape global events and maintain its superpower status would be significantly challenged. Navigating a changing world order. The world is moving away from a US-centric system. De-dollarization is a symptom of this larger shift. The United States can no longer take its economic and geopolitical dominance for granted. Adapting to this new reality is crucial for maintaining American power and influence in the 21st century. This requires a multifaceted approach. Domestically, the U.S. needs to address its fiscal imbalances, strengthen its political institutions, and restore faith in its leadership. Internationally, it needs to engage in greater cooperation with allies and rivals alike, promoting a more inclusive and rules-based global order.
Thank you for watching till this end. If this is your first time here, please consider subscribing for an alluring adventure in the murky waters of global geopolitics.